In this tutorial, you will learn how to import a model into Cinema 4D that you scanned using Displayland. We will clean it up and do some preparations so we can use it in an efficient way in a 3D project. I will do this process with a virtual version of myself, but you can do it with any other 3D object. Before you start, you need to download the 3D model from Displayland as an OBJ file. Okay, so now let's get started. First, we want to bring in our 3D object. And you can simply do this by clicking your OBJ file and dragging it into your scene. From experience, I can advise you to change this value from 1 to 100. This means that you are actually changing the unit from centimeters to meters. So, choose 1 meter or 100 centimeters and press OK. And now your model should be visible inside your scene. At the moment, the material looks a little bit odd. The reason is, if you click on your material and select this basic section, that we only want the color channel of your material. So we have to deselect all the other channels until we only have the color channel left. And now the material looks much more like we want. When I zoom in, you can see that the look of my material is not nice at all and it looks quite blurry. But this is just a question of representation. Cinema 4D displays the textures in a lower resolution to optimize the performance of your computer. And we can increase the resolution for a better display. If your computer has problems with this, just leave your texture at the default settings. So now I have a much better preview and I can cut out my avatar from the rest of the scene. And to do so, I change my preview mode by pressing F5, and now I see the same view from top, from front and right. Now I switch from model mode to polygon mode so that I can preview all the polygons in my scene. By pressing this mouse, this live selection tool, I can select a part of my 3D model and it doesn't really matter which part it is. And now if I click S, then I zoom in onto this area that I just selected. And I can do this in every view. I can do it here and zoom out, or here. So now I have a better understanding where my desired 3D object is inside the scene. So now I change the selection tool, and if I keep the mouse pressed, then I can choose the rectangle selection tool. And I do so, and here in this view I can see my model really well. And now I just select all of it. And now all the polygons of my model are selected, and even more polygons. So I don't want this part, so I have to get rid of that. And I can do that if I click Control and use the rectangle tool again. So now I can get rid of them. Of course, it can also happen that I get rid of too many polygons, and if I press Shift and use the rectangle tool or any selection tool, I can add it to my selection again. So this comes quite handy. And you can use all these selection tools. You can also try out the other ones. So now I try to get as close as possible to the selection that I want. Okay, and it seems more or less fine. And once you're done with that, you can invert your selection. Now our selection got inverted, and now we can just simply press Delete, and all that is left is the part of our model that is important to us. So now the problem is that there are parts of the street on our model, and we also want to get rid of these parts. But I cannot simply delete them. If I delete this part, then my model is also affected by it. So I don't want to do that. Instead, there's a nice trick. If you press your right mouse button and you choose line cut, you can simply cut your way along the model, and then you can delete all the polygons, and you have a nice cut along your shoe or whatever you need. So you just cut out the information that is not important to you. Like, here's the street and here's your shoe, and you get rid of everything that you don't need. So we'll just do this very fast. Okay, now I'm done with deleting all of the unnecessary polygons. And next, I want to move this object to the world's origin. So as you can see, our 3D model is a little bit off. And to move the model to the origin, I change to the model mode. And when I press this axis, I can only move the axis, but our model will remain on the same spot. And now our front and right view and top view helps a lot by getting the correct position. So once I'm done, I deselect this axis, and now I can move the model. Since I want it on the world's origin, I can also zero the values out down here and simply press apply. And now our object is positioned perfectly well at the world's origin. Okay, now we only have to change the orientation of our 3D object, because actually it should look into the direction of our z-axis. To do that, we simply change the rotation to -90 degrees. We enable the axis and zero it out again. And now you can see that it looks in the right direction. If you zoom into your object, you see that there are many parts of it that look quite harsh and not smooth at all. So there is a really easy way to smooth these things out, and you can do this by changing your layout from standard to sculpt mode. And then you can see that there are different tools that you can use. And I will grab the smooth tool, lower the pressure a little bit, and then I will just move it over the object. And you see how it changes almost by itself. It was too much. Okay. Once you're done with your object, you can go back to standard mode. Now we do the last steps that we need so we can export it as an FBX file. So I will rename it. And now I'll just check the size of my object. And to be honest, I could be a little bit taller. So now I have the correct size. Now I simply select export as an FBX. Now I check that the important settings are made, that my textures and materials are embedded, and then I can simply save it. Yeah, so that's basically it. I tried to keep the section short. Of course, we could optimize our 3D model even more, but this is the basis of how you can prepare a 3D scan from Displayland, so you can work properly with it in Unity or any other 3D software.